Hey there, what's going on? My name is Basir Payenda. Welcome to 12th project of 100 web project series. And in this video, we'll be creating this from scratch using only HTML, CSS, and vanilla JavaScript. You can see there are different layers of colored borders stacked behind each other. And within that, there are two switches that essentially allows the user to choose either advanced or beginner based on their competency level. Since at the same time the user cannot be a beginner and advanced user, so open clicking the beginner, the advanced is going to switch off, and open clicking the advanced, the beginner is going to switch off. And also notice this hover effect when it's turned off and the hover effect when it's turned on, and that also the animation when it is turned on. Alright, so without any further ado, let's dive right into it. I already created the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript files and linked them all together, so I'm going to write the HTML label for beginner, and then within that there is an input with a type of checkbox and a class of checkbox with an ID of beginner. So make sure that this one and the ID of the input, they are both identical and the same. Okay, and then right here I'm going to write this div with a class of switch, then the text of beginner. Alright, let's run this in live server. So this is how it is going to look. And then back into style.css, let's get the body, add a font family, Sigu UI, and then a minimum height of 100 vertical height. Display this as flicks, justify content to the center, and align items to the center. Okay, then let's get the label, display this as flicks as well, and increase the font size. Let's bump this up to 2.5 rem, and for the checkbox, okay, there we go. I'm gonna set the visibility to hidden. Alright, now here we have the checkbox, the switch right here. So I'm gonna get the switch there and add a width of like 90 pixels, and then a height of 40 pixels, and also a background color, slightly darker color there, and then a margin right of 1 rem, then also a border radius for this, like 3 rem maybe. Well, this is how it is gonna look. You can still see that they are not in the center horizontally, so I'm gonna add this align item center. Yeah, so now it is in the center both horizontally and vertically. Maybe I think we need justify content center as well. Okay, so this is how it is gonna look. And then right at the bottom here, I'm gonna say that checkbox, when that is checked, so grab its adjacent element with switch and change its background color to some kind of blue color here. So when I click on that, you can see the background color of that is changed. Okay, and this blue color is a little bit overkill, so I'm gonna go with some other color. I'm gonna choose some random color here. Okay, so like that. Now I can turn on and off that. And to get rid of this text selection, what you can do is go to the label right here and say user select, set that to none, and for sake of browser compatibility, you can add these WebKits if you want to. Actually, user-select, this one, set this to none, and also for the Mozilla, user-select, set this to none as well. Okay, now it's time to create this ball here. So right there, just gonna be a pseudo element, switch, and this before the content is essentially going to be nothing. And it's gonna have a width of like 36 pixels and also a height of 36 pixels. Okay, so the reason why I set this to 36 pixels is because the height of the container is 40 pixels and this one 36 pixels with a margin of 2 pixels from top and bottom. That's going to be a total of 40 pixels. Okay, and that also, let's change the color of that to white so it starts to appear there. But right now I need to add a position of relative for the parent element, and then for this one I'm gonna add this position of absolute. Okay, so you can see it already started to appear right there. And I also come up with this box shadow, so I'm gonna just copy that and paste it right here. Let's just go up until here. So this is how it is gonna look. And then for the border radius, I'm gonna set the border radius to 50%. So now that's rounded and it kind of looks really good. And now when I click on that, you can see that turns on and off, but all you have to do now is to roll this ball on the right side when it's turned on. Okay, so the way you can do that is check this and say that on checkbox, the switch and then the before here, I'm just gonna have a margin left. So we're going to specify the margin left based on the width of its parent. Okay, so the switch has 90 pixels width and the switch before it has 36 pixels width, so 90 minus 36, that's 54 pixels. So I'm going to set that right here, 54 pixels, and also make sure to add a transition so that's kind of smooth. So for the margin, that's like 300 milliseconds here, in and out, like so. Save it, and now if I click that, this is it, we did it successfully. And from the demo you can see this slightly bigger, so we can make it a little bit bigger by adding this transform and scale it to 1.3, and that it looks good. Okay, so we did it so far. And now the next step is that also add a hover effect for turn on and turn off. Well, the way you can do that is first you're going to grab this switch before and then add a hover effect, then on hover, and we're going to change the box shadow of that to 0, 0, and maybe 4 pixels or 3 pixels RGBA, and choose one of these colors. I don't want any blurry thing there, so I'm gonna go with 0. Okay, now if I just hover over that, you can now see how that looks. Okay, and for the active one, just to add the kind of color like that in there, so for the active one, what I can do is that I will again just duplicate that out, and let's just copy this out from there and paste it. Paste it right there, and then when switch is hovered over, then I'd like to change this box shadow again to some kind of color from here. So let's just copy that and paste it there, and then right here I'm gonna add an alpha for that, so that's like 0.637. I don't know how is that gonna look. Okay, so this is it. Well, this is how it is all gonna look. Okay, you can just decrease it however you want to. 0.3, I'm gonna go with 0.29 maybe. Okay, so now this is it. Well, it kind of looks really good. Okay, and as a final step, let's just add a transition delay for the background as well. Okay, so there it is. I'm gonna add a transition of, okay, this is gonna be for the background color, and right here this is gonna be like 0.2 second, ease in and out. Okay, so when you add that and if you click that, okay, again transition dash delay, it's like 0.3 seconds. That's 300 milliseconds, and now, okay, this kind of looks good. We are done up until this point. Then back into index.html, I'm gonna duplicate this, and right here I'm gonna wrap it within a container. If you're using VS Code, Ctrl+Shift+B is gonna open this out, and for the image, click that, and it's going to be a section with the class of switch-container. So it's going to serve as a wrapper for overall things right here. Okay, then for the label, actually for the heading here, I'm going to say, I forgot the title, so it was competency label. Just copy and paste that there, and back into here in style.css we have this class of switch container. So I'm just going to grab that, and all the way up until here, switch-container, actually paste it, and the heading, which is this h1, I'm gonna add a font size of like 3 rem there. Okay, now let's refresh the page. Well, this is how it is all gonna look. Okay, and now you can see that they are kind of in the center. If I just get rid of this one, so that should solve the problem. Yes, it did. And also let's add a background color for overall body. I'm gonna go with Alice Blue here, Alice Blue. Now that looks better. And for this container, which is essentially the switch container, I'm gonna add a background color of white for that. Okay, so that is it. And also a padding of like maybe 4 rem there. Border radius, set this to 1 rem. That is it. Well, right now it looks a little bit good. And for this one right here, let's change this beginner to advanced. Okay, it is advanced, and the label, it is with a capital A. There we go. And back into style.css, let's add a little bit of margin so there's a bit room between them. Okay, so there's a margin 0.5 rem and 0. There we go. Maybe increase this to 7.5 rem, and now that looks a little bit better. Alright, so if I click on beginner and advanced, that looks really nice. Why do I think like this is a little bit more delay right here. Let's set that to 0.2 second. Well, that looks a little bit good. All right, so now it is the time for the JavaScript. I'm gonna go const checkboxes, this document dot query selector all, okay, and then dot checkbox here, then checkboxes dot for each of those checkbox. I'm gonna run this function right here. Okay, so then checkbox dot add event listener, and then on not click is change, so on change I'm gonna grab e, and then console.log e dot target. There we go. And also we need two more things. There's the beginner here, this document dot get element by id, and get that beginner there, duplicate this line, and then this is for advanced one. Copy it and paste it right there, and let's console.log beginner.checked below here, beginner.checked, like so, and for this one advanced.check. There we go. So I'm gonna console.log e.target, beginner.check, and advanced.check just to explain something for you guys. So inspect that, and then in the console, if I click on beginner, okay, so sounds like there is a problem, cannot read property checked of null. All right, yeah, this is supposed to be double N, and now if I click on beginner, okay, we are still getting that error. That is beginner. Yeah, this is not supposed to be double G. Beginner. Now you can see that open clicking that e.target is essentially targets the one that we clicked on that. So it says that the input with type of checkbox that has the ID of beginner, you see that it is turned on, and this and advanced.checked is false. And as I click on advanced, you will notice that this is advanced, and this one, both of those are true, as you can see from the interface right here. So I'm gonna close this out and start writing some logic. So I'm gonna say that if e.target, which means that if I clicked on beginner, the advanced.checked is going to be set to false. Okay, and then again let's duplicate this line of code again, this time for the advanced. Okay, if I click on advanced, then beginner.checked is set to false. Okay, so that is what it means. Let's add a little bit of space between them, and now if I click on beginner, and after that if I click on advanced, the beginner is gonna switch off. There we go. So this is it. So now if I click on beginner and advanced, this is the optional case in case the user don't want to give any idea whether they are beginner or advanced. But if they check one and want to choose one, then essentially they are forced to choose between one of those, either beginner or advanced. All right. So now there's one more thing that we need to add a little bit of animation when it is turned on. Okay. So for that, right here, when the checkbox is checked, the switch before, I'm gonna add a little bit animation right here. That's animation dash name, and set it to gluey ball. Okay, and then for the animation duration, set this to 200 milliseconds. Okay, keyframes, and for gluey ball, okay, from and to. There we go. So right now what is going to happen is that there's going to be a little bit of box shadow, as you can see from here as I'm turning that on. Okay, so yeah, that's kind of arbitrary. You may want that or maybe not, so I'm gonna just add it right here. Box shadow for both of those, and it's gonna go from 0 till 3 pixels. Now if I hit that, you can see how is that gonna look. Well, just play with it. Maybe you'll find the ideal kind of animation you're looking for. Okay, so that is it. All right, now what is left is the border right here. So all the way up until here, the border belongs to the switch container, so I'm gonna add that here, and I'm gonna use box shadow for that. Essentially there are several ways of adding this border right here, but the best way is to use box shadow. It is the most neat and clean way here. Okay, so 0 pixels, 0 pixels both for the X offset and for the Y offset. and then here again 0 pixels, then 3 pixels, and the kind of color I'm gonna go with is going to be this color right here. So scroll way down up until there, then grab this one and just go way up. Where is it? There we go, just paste it. Now you can see that the border is appearing right there. It's actually the box shadow, but it sounds like it is the border. Okay, so I'm gonna just comment something in here for sake of explanation so you guys know what is going on. So the first thing in here is gonna be the X offset, then there is this Y offset, and followed by that blur radius, not blue radius, blur radius. Let's just straighten this out a little bit. Okay, like that. And then followed by that there is this spread radius, and then the color. Okay, so this is what we did. 0 pixels for the X offset and 0 pixels for the Y offset. So now you can see from this one that there is a little bit of space for the X offset, and for the Y offset it sounds like there is a minus value for that. Okay, so back into here I'm gonna add that comma. This means it's first box shadow, and comma afterward whatever we are writing, it's going to be the next box shadow. So you are allowed to add as many box shadow as you want. Okay, so for the next one I'm going to go with 25 pixels for the x-axis, 25 pixels for the y-axis. You can see it's already started to appear right here. And then for the blur radius I'm going to go with 0 pixels, and for the spread radius I'm going to go again with 0 pixels, and again for the color I'm going to go with red. Okay, so now you can see that this appear right beneath that. However, from the demo you can see it is on the upside. So in order to reverse that, it is very simple. All you have to do is change the value of Y offset and make it a -1. So now you can see it started to appear right at the top side. Okay, and then followed by that I'm gonna actually copy this out and add a comma and then paste it again in here. So let's work on the next border here. I'm gonna set this to be green. Okay, now there is a reason why you cannot see this green border right here, this green box shadow, and the reason is that red covered this green border right here. So just to pull this a little bit down, I'm gonna add a minus value of like -6 pixels, and now you can see the green border is appearing right there. So I'm gonna change this to white, and there it is. All right. So we did it so far, and you can however change its value to be like -3 pixels if in case you want to add a thicker border. So you are welcome to kind of change this one to 6 pixels as well. Now this looks a little bit better, and for the rest of it it's gonna follow the very same rule. Okay, so I'm gonna maximize that, just copy that out and again paste it right here. And since this is 25 pixels, and from the demo you can see that it starts increasing by the x-axis and the y-axis. Okay, so that's what we are going to do. So increase it by a set value. I'm going to choose 20. Okay, so let's choose these two. And this is like 35, 45 pixels. There we go. And then set this to be like light. I'm going to choose light pink. Okay, now back into here. Now you can see that light pink appears right there. Maybe the border radius is too much. I'm gonna go with 0.2 rem here. And now back in here, 0.5 rem. What about now if I go back? Well, yeah, this looks a little bit better. All right, so we did it up until this point, and you can guess how we can add other several borders into there as well. And this is gonna be similarly the same. Just copy that out and then right here add this comma, and then again this was 45 pixels, and now you're essentially going to bump this up to another value. Okay, I made a mistake here, excuse me. No, I didn't. Let's just copy this one from there up until here and then paste it again. And for the 45, this time it is not 45, increasing it by 20, that's going to be like 65 pixels. 65 pixels. Now save it, and instead of light blue, let's say light, I'm going to choose light salmon here. Okay, back into here. Now you can see light salmon is appearing right there. Okay, so the behavior is going to be like this. So first there is a border, this kind of purple border, and then there is this, actually excuse me, box shadow, purple box shadow, and then there's white box shadow, then there's this green box shadow, and you can see the X offset is increasing as we are adding more border there. So you can see that this doubles up every time we are adding like 20 pixels, and minus essentially means that go toward the top right there. Okay. Alright, so I think we achieved what we are looking for, and you can play with it however you want to. You'll get the ideal kind of card you are looking for. Okay, so that was it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. So make sure to drop a like, leave a comment, don't forget to subscribe, and turn on the bell notification for more videos. Until our next tutorial, stay happy. Thank you.